Hi guys, hope all is well. I have my first part of my art journal for I was gonna say Chicago, my Colorado trip, and I had an absolutely fabulous time. So I hope you enjoyed this little, very mini series. I have this part and I have the second part, which are the last day of my is the last day and a half of my trip that I want to document in my little art journal. So what I'm doing right now is taking a map of the Rocky Mountain National Forest and that I got from the tourist center that they marked up, and I'm just taping this in or tipping it into the album or the journal using some washi tape that I had in my stash, and it just has some flowers on it. So I'm going to tape that in right there in the crease of the book, and then I'm going to tape it with some gold washi tape on this side. It's like a gold, I think, striped washi tape that I'm going to end up using. Yes. And I'm just going to trim it to size and then tape that in, and it's going to be just a really cool little pull out. I like incorporating this kind of thing into these kinds of journals and such because it just gives me something to play with. I love this interactiveness that it has where you can kind of open up the folder and play with it and turn the pages and uncover things that are behind it, and it's just really cool. It's kind of like one of those pop-up books that you had when you were a kid, and it's just really fun. So here I am just taking that map and folding it so it fits in the bag appropriate, or bag. My goodness, where am I mind today? Fits in the book properly. And I'm going to take the washi tape and do a little tab so that I can pull it. And actually later on, I'm going to add a little bit more to this tab that you'll see in the photos at the very end. So if you're interested in that, just stay tuned for the end. I add a little kind of flag and a stamp, and I think a little bit more washi tape just to add a little bit more to this page. I didn't have a date on the page, and I thought that was a good opportunity to put that date. So now I'm going to go through the little die cut pack and the 6x6 paper pad and pick out all the little embellishments and ephemera that I'm going to use on this left hand side. So I trimmed out a little piece of paper from the 6x6 Dear Lizzie pad that says my name is, and then I'm going to be just going through this little die cut pack here that I talked about in my video share of my previous pages, and I'm going to pick out what things I think I might use on this page, and then I just kind of put them to the side in a pile so I can kind of limit the number of things that I'm going to be playing with. I think when I have to look through a big stack each time I decide to do a cluster or what have you, it just seems a little overwhelming, so I wanted to make sure I didn't have that, and that's what I do for my project life and for my scrapbooking as well. It just makes it kind of a little bit easier. And initially when I made this journal or put the stuff together for this journal, I limited the supplies as well because again, I was going to take this with me on my trip and do a lot of the work on my trip. So I didn't want to have a bazillion different die cut packs and 3 or 5 different 6x6 paper pads and all that. So I very much limited these supplies, and then I just kind of used what I had. I found it very fun too because sometimes I just found like little pieces of string or and little news clipping or different things like that. And it was just really fun to kind of be forced in a way to use the things that were around me. And it's just amazing all the things that we have that from like clothing and from packages and stuff that we can really use in our scrapbook pages, and especially this art journaling type thing that if you don't really care so much about archival safe or acid free, that type of thing, it's just so much fun to just kind of get creative and use those things that are just around you. So anyway, back to the actual layout that I'm doing right now. I am just layering some different papers behind these 2 photos. One is a picture of my mom and one is a picture of my daughter, and we're waiting, or one on the left is my daughter and my mom and me waiting for the tram to take us up the Prospect Mountain. And then the one on the right is a picture of my mom, and we are actually in the tram. It's just a little hard to see. The photo is kind of tiny. And I'm just layering the different paper and things behind these photos and using just my little dot runner adhesive. And it was a nice little dot runner. I don't take my big humongous ATG gun with me when I go on a trip, and this is a perfect little size that fit perfectly in that pouch I showed you in that previous journal share video. Now I am just going to be spelling out I think amazing view, possibly, with these Tim Holtz tiny stickers, and I'm going to fast forward so you don't have to actually watch me put all these little bitty stickers on. Aerial Tramway. I'm actually just writing the name of the little tram that we went on. And now I'm going to do a little journaling, which is just going to say at Estes Park, or Aerial Tramway Estes Park, and at the top of this page I am going to kind of hand letter doodle what have you the word Prospect or the name Prospect Mountain. And I'm just trying to make sure I am spelling it correctly, trying to find out the name of the mountain because I want to make sure I did it right. And sorry, I know I'm writing on an angle, like a really crazy angle, but this is how I actually write. So I have to turn this book like totally sideways to write, and that's just how I am comfortable. So I will flip it like you see here right back around. So it's not so sideways for you. So sorry about that. Now I am going to be looking and working on the bottom cluster of photos. So I am wanting to incorporate that hello, my name is little thing that I snipped out of the paper pad, and I'm going to end up using it actually on the picture of my mom. The pictures here are, and again, they're really tiny because I have the journaling that I'm doing, but the pictures of my mom is her feeding a chipmunk, and then the other picture is of my daughter feeding a chipmunk, and the bottom even tinier picture is a picture of an actual chipmunk. But they had a lot of fun. The feeding of the chipmunks was probably my daughter's favorite activity of the entire trip. She just thought that was the coolest thing in the entire world. I, on the other hand, I loved feeding the chipmunks. However, I know it's probably not the best thing to be feeding the wildlife, but I'm hoping that those guys get the food all the time, so it's not a big problem. I know it's really not something you should be doing, is feeding wildlife, because then they depend on you for their food source, and then if you should move or things like that, then they don't have that food source anymore. So it's just really not the best thing to feed the wildlife, but I think I'm not too worried about these chipmunks. I don't think anybody is going anywhere anytime soon, so think they're going to have plenty of little peanuts to eat forever and ever. So anyway, again, back to the layout. I am just working on this little banner that says, I think, let's go, or let's do this, I'm sorry. And I just added some strips of paper from the 6x6 paper pad just to gussy it up a bit so it wasn't so plain, and it kind of popped off the page a bit more because the background is kind of a green and blue color, and it was kind of blending in a little bit, and I thought this helped. So I'm just taking the sticky back off of the photos, and I don't remember if I mentioned in the previous video, but I have a Polaroid zip printer, and it is this perfect, awesome pocket printer, and I love the fact that the photo paper is sticky on the back. I was thinking about getting the, what is the other one called? The Instax printer that looks kind of like Polaroids when they print out, and I thought that was really cool because I like that idea. But I just really like the idea of having an adhesive back, especially if you only want to take your printer, your journal, and maybe some watercolors with you in your phone. It's a perfect way to get them in your journal without having to bring adhesive and things like that as well with you. So now I'm just taking some of the chevrons that I cut out of the 6x6 paper pad as well, and adding that to the photo clusters, taking off the backing of this one and adding more of the little strips and stuff that I cut off from the other pieces above. And then I'm going to end up using that little cool word here in a little bit, but first I'm going to mount this on a piece of that stripe paper that mimics or is the same stripe paper that is on the photos above, just kind of tying the pieces of the layout together so it has a cohesive look and it doesn't look completely jumbled. So I'm just going to stick this down here in a second once I find apparently the most perfect position. And I'm just going to trim this out with my scissors, and then I will trim it out a little bit more precise here in a couple seconds once I get it away from the book. I took off the orange, I just wanted that green showing on the right hand side, and then I am going to add the cool right there on this chevron once I trim it down just slightly because it was kind of overlapping the chevron a little too much, so I wanted to have a little bit skinnier piece. Now I am going to add that little kind of pointy arrow like thing that is a die cut from the same die cut pack after I mount this to the stripe paper as well, and that die cut says adorable, and it's pointing to the little chipmunk because they were very adorable. It was really fun. I don't know if you guys are really familiar with chipmunks. I mean, they're kind of all over the place, but oh my gosh, they're so cute, and they take the food that you give them or any food that they are getting, and they store them in their cheeks. So when they get really excited, they have a lot of food in their cheeks. They have these really humongous cheeks, and they are just really cute. So I didn't get a picture of their big cheeks, but I did get a picture of one eating some of the food, so that was fun because they are just like tiny and adorable, and I absolutely love animals, so chipmunks are some of my favorite little critters because they are just so little and tiny. Now I am taking those Tim Holtz stickers and writing Chippy, which basically says, hello, my name is Chippy, because that is what my daughter kept calling the chipmunks, and then I added a little journaling in the bottom. Now I'm working on the right hand side, and I'm taking the other die cuts that I had pulled from that little plastic container earlier when I first started, and I'm going to be utilizing them on this side of the layout. And I think I end up going back in there and pulling out some more. Here's another example of a perfect thing to use when you don't have a lot in your stash, when you just are going traveling and things, is that floral tag that I put under the middle picture. That is actually from a pair of jeans or shorts or something like that, I think, that I got right before I went on this trip. So I thought this is really cute. It's got these florals, it matches the color scheme. So I put that in my stash of things to use as well. And I thought that was cool that I was able to use that up, and instead of going in the garbage, it went in my journal. So now I am working on that bottom cluster, and then I'm going to keep working on the different parts of the other clusters until I get it the way I like it. I really like how that feather in the bottom right kind of encloses that page. It kind of ends it off really nice so it doesn't feel like the photos are falling off the page. I am taking my heart punch from Stampin' Up. It's an older punch, and I am punching out these pink hearts from some of the Dear Lizzie paper and adding them to the background as well. And then once I'm happy with everything, I'm just going to start gluing everything down. The little chevron arrow, that peaked circle is basically a sun. I'm going to trim off a little piece of that so I can use it elsewhere in my album. And then I'm going to start gluing down this one as well. So I'm just taking that adhesive backing off. And it's relatively easy to peel off. Sometimes I end up using that scissors like you had seen me earlier, just to kind of peel it off so I'm not bending the corners of the photos as much, and that does help. So that is glued down. I'm going to work on this bottom one. I'm going to end up putting some of that string that I said I found while I was away. It was part of a tag from another piece of clothing that I purchased. And I'm going to put that string, it's white and silver, like a floss almost, and it's going to go on the circle in that tag that I'm putting down right now. So there it is right there. I'm just going to slip it through and then trim it off, and it does fray a lot, so I'm just going to use that nature of the thread and just fray it even more so it looks really cool. And I like that look, so you can see I'm just going to fluff it up and fray it. And then I'm going to work on this bottom cluster. I am going to put a little bit of journaling in that circle right there in a second once I get all the pieces done. So basically I am pretty much finishing up here. I just want to thank you guys so much. I've reached 2,000 subscribers and a little bit more than that on my channel. I want to thank everyone and you that have subscribed. If you haven't already subscribed, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about anything I did today or anything else, just leave them in the comments below. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you have anything that you want to see in the future, let me know and I will work on that. If you like these journaling videos like that, please let me know that as well. So that's about wrapping it up. Stay tuned for the photos here in just a few minutes. And like I said, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.